Hey guys, welcome to Summer Math Camp. I'm Mrs. Deem and really looking forward to working with you guys over the next 6 weeks. We've got a fun schedule ahead of us. I'm sure most of you are rolling your eyes right now and saying, yeah, math fun, no. Um, this is really just a review, guys. It's something to kind of keep it fresh over the summer and, just some extra practice. So don't stress, don't worry about it. This is just for you to be better prepared for when you walk into school on August 16th. So let's go ahead and get started with week one. And week one is all about place value. So let me go ahead and switch over here to my place value chart and we'll get started with this. Okay guys, so as you can see here, we have our place value chart. Now, this is probably one of the most important and best tools that you can use when you are looking at the place value of every digit in a number. Really, place value is how numbers get their words. Each digit in a number holds a certain place value, and that place value helps to name that overall number. So let's take, for example, the number 1,292. So you see a 1, a 2, a 9, and another 2. Now, you can recognize that number, and you look at it and you go, oh yes, that's exactly what it is. Now, here's how those numbers get their words. You are actually putting digits in a specific place value. Every digit in a number has a home, and that home is that place, that certain value in the place value chart. Now, let's go ahead. We know that this is a whole number. 1,292 is a whole number. So let's go ahead and we're going to fill that in our place value chart. So our digit 2 here is in the ones place. So I'm going to write that 2 here. The next one is the 9, and that 9 is in our tens place. So we're going to put our 9 in the tens place. The next digit to the left is another 2, and it actually lives in the hundreds place, so we're going to fill that in here. And finally, our 1 to the very left is actually in the thousands place. So when you fill your number in on the place value chart, you see that the digit 1 actually represents 1,000. Our digit 2 in the hundreds place actually represents 200. Our digit 9 in the tens place represents 90. And finally, the 2 in the ones place represents 2 ones. From here, we can see that we have 1 in the thousands place, or 1,000. So now we're going to start to write our actual word form of this number, 1,000. Next, we move over to the 2 in the hundreds place. So we know that that's 200. And now we're going to write the next part of our number word, which is 200. The next part of our word is going to be focused on the 9 that's in the tens place. Well, if you have 9 tens, you have 90. So you're going to write the word 90 N-I-N-E-T-Y. But then you also have to come over and recognize that you have a 2 in the ones place. So you don't just have 90, but you have 92. So here is part of why understanding place value is so important when you are looking at numbers, because that actually helps to determine what you're going to say when you read that number. In this case, when we look at the words, it says 1,292. So we've talked about words in number form, but we can also talk about writing numbers in expanded form. And we can use place value of each digit in a number to help us to write out our number in expanded form. So again, we're using our example of 1,292. And as we see above, we have 1,292. So what we can do now is use the value of each of those digits to help us to write out the expanded form of our number. In this case, we would write it out as 1,000 plus 200 plus 90 plus 2. And of course, if we were to add all of those numbers together, our sum would be 1,292. Expanded form is going to become even more significant through both 5th grade and into your 6th grade year. So you want to make sure that you do understand that when you're talking about place value and you're using place value to write numbers as words or to write your numbers in expanded form, that you truly understand that the digit in each place value has a certain value and has a certain name to go along with that value. Another significant role place value plays in math is when we compare numbers. I'm going to write the following numbers at the bottom of the screen. We have 492, 429, 92, and 42. Now, you scan through your numbers, and most of us, as we're comparing numbers, we look at that first digit in every number. Well, in this number, we have a 4 as the first digit in the number. In this number, we have 4 as the first digit in this number. Our third number, if we look at it, we have a 9 as the first digit in that number. And finally, our last number, again, we have a 4 in this number. Now, as the first digit in the number. Now, if we just scan through this very quickly and we really weren't paying attention to the place value, what are you going to think would be our greatest number if you're not paying attention very closely? Well, you're going to see that 9 and all the rest are 4s, and you're going to think, oh, there's a 9 as the first digit in that number. It's got to be the biggest number. But is it? Well, if we take and we fill in every number in our place value chart, let's start with our first number, 492. Well, we have a 4 in the hundreds place, a 9 in the tens place, a 2 in the ones place. Our second number is 429. So again, we're going to fill it in our place value chart. We have 4 in the hundreds place, 2 in the tens place, 9 in the ones place. Now let's go to our third number, 92. Well, although we have the digit 9 as the first digit in our number, and that is greater than 4, the 9 in this number is in the tens place, not the hundreds place. Therefore, when you start to fill this number into the place value chart, you're going to have to start not in the hundreds place, but in the tens place. So let's go ahead and put that 9 in the tens place and that 2 in the ones place. Finally, our fourth number is 42. So again, we have only 2 digits, not 3 digits in our number. So our 4 is going to have to be placed in the tens place and our 2 in the ones place. Now, as you compare these numbers, you can see that 492 is going to be our number that has the greatest overall value. Because if you look, there are 4s in the hundreds column in our first number and our second number. However, when you look at the tens column, you have a 9 here, but you have only a 2 in the tens place in 429. Therefore, you know that 9 is greater than 2. So 492 is greater than 429. Now, we also know that both of these numbers are greater than the next number, which is 92, because we have a 4 in the hundreds place here. We have a 4 in the hundreds place in this number, but we don't have a number in the hundreds place, a digit in the hundreds place for this number. We basically have a 0. We have no hundreds. And therefore, 92 would be the third greatest number in this list of 4 numbers. Finally, if we compare the 9 in the tens place in the number 92 as compared to the 4 in the tens place in the number 42, we know that 9 is greater than 4, and so 92 is greater than 42. So here is where, when we stack our numbers according to the place value of each digit in each number, it's easier to compare multiple numbers. Okay, so we've talked about the role that place value plays when we compare different numbers to one another. But now let's talk about place value when we compare digits within a single number. So let's use, for example, the number 6,373. Now, one thing that you'll notice about the number that I'm using is that I have a 3 in the ones place and a 3 in the hundreds place. what you'll notice is that the value of the 3 in the hundreds place is obviously going to be greater than the value of the 3 in the ones place. Let's face it, guys, we'd rather have $300 than $3. So now let's talk about how do you actually compare the value of the 3 in the hundreds place to the 3 in the ones place, or vice versa. Well, let's start by talking about the fact that every time that you move from one place value to the next place value, as you're moving to the left, we know that our numbers are getting greater. They're increasing in value. But by exactly how much? Well, really, it's 10 times. It's 10 times greater every time we move from one place value to the next place value. So if I'm moving from the ones place to the tens place, I've increased the value 10 times. And you go, Miss Dean, how's that possible? Well, here's how it's possible. If we're starting with the ones, if we're starting with the value of the 1 and we're increasing it 10 times, well, what's 10 times 1? That's right, that equals 10. Now, we've just gone from that 1's place value to the 10's place value, multiplying by 10. So then, what about the 10's place value? Well, we're starting with the 10's place value, and we multiply that by 10. What's 10 times 10? If you guessed 100, you guessed correct. So now you're moving another place value to the left, and you've just increased its value 10 times. Now, I know that looks like a lot of 10s and 10 times, but basically what's happening is every time you move from one place value to the next, you've increased the value 10 times. Now, here's how we go about comparing. Now, we know that we said each time we move a place value, we're going up 10 times, right? So when we move from the ones place value to the tens place value, we've increased its value 10 times. When we move from the tens to the hundreds place value, we've increased the value again 10 times. So now if we were to write this out, what we're looking at is we want to know the 3 in the hundreds place is blank the 3 in the ones place. And we should actually include the word value here. So really I'm going to erase that I'm going to say the value of 3 in the hundreds place is blank the value of 3 in the ones place. So I'm going to show you a little trick on how to make this make more sense. So really a strategy to help you think about the value of the digits in the number. So you're going to take and actually use the words hundreds, and ones. Now, which word came first in our prompt? It was the hundreds. And which one came second in our prompt? The ones. Now, what I want to do is draw an arrow to the word that has the greater value. Well, which has the greater value? Hundreds or ones? Well, we know it's hundreds. So we're going to point the arrow toward the hundreds place. So now if you look up at your place value chart, you'll notice that we jumped 1, 2 times from the ones place value to the hundreds place value. But we don't want to say 10 times 2. We actually have to multiply 10 times 10. Well, what is 10 times 10? We said that before. That equals 100. So when we're trying to describe the value of the 3 in the hundreds place, we want to say that it is 100 times greater than the value of the 3 in the ones place. Now, let's go and try that again. One more example for you before I let you loose on some practice problems. So I'm going to erase everything, and we're going to start from scratch. Okay, so this number is 12,290. And I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to take out that units word. And I'm going to put the word we're used to seeing, which is ones. Okay. Now, immediately I notice that I have a 2 in the hundreds place and a 2 in the thousands place. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to say, I want to know the value of the 2 in the thousands place is blank the value of the 2 in the hundreds place. Okay, so first of all, what I want to do, I want to go and I want to look at what are my words, what are my place value words in my prompt that I really need to pay attention to. Well, the word thousands and the word hundreds. Now, in this prompt, which one comes first? Thousands. So I'm going to put a TH for thousands. And the second word in the prompt is hundreds. Now, I want to stop and think, which one has the greater value? Thousands or hundreds? In this case, it's thousands, so I want to point my arrow to the thousands place. That means I'm going to be moving to the left. So if you go up and you go from the hundreds and you move to the left one place value to the thousands, you've just moved 10 times the value. So 10 times 1, because we've just moved one place value, we have no other 10s, so it's just 10. Or you could even skip that part and just say 10 times. So in this case, the value of the 2 in the thousands place is 10 times greater than the value of the 2 in the hundreds place. And as you can see, the 2000 is 10 times greater than 200. And you can also check it by saying, well, this 2 has a value of 200. And if I multiply that times 10, which we got from right here, 200 times 10 equals 2,000. So there I've just proved that 200 is 10, or 2,000 is 10 times greater than 200. Okay, you'll get some more practice on these, and we can also go over this more when we chat later this week. All right, guys, so you've survived lesson 1, place value. Now, what you're going to do next is you're going to actually get onto the Converge page for this summer camp, and we have a 10-question practice activity along with some place value games to practice strategies and learning more about place value. What I'd like for you to do is I want you to be able to score at least an 80% on your practice activity. Now, what happens if you don't is okay. Like I said before, don't stress, don't worry about it. It's okay. What's going to happen is the activity is actually going to be locked for 24 hours. During that time, I want you to go back. I want you to watch the lesson again. I want you to get back onto the games. I'm telling you to play games. Practice those place value games. Try some different ones. Just think about some strategies that you've learned throughout your previous year of school. And then in about 24 hours, go back, try the practice activity again. See if you can score a little bit higher. You can get out on the internet and find some other resources too. Now, we will meet. This week we'll be meeting on Tuesday morning. It will happen around 10:30 a.m. At that point, we will go over another little activity together, and we'll just have some discussion, and I'll answer some questions, any questions that you have, and then go back, try your practice activity again. Then on Friday, I'm going to open up the final exit slip. I don't want you to complete the exit slip until you have scored at least an 80% on the practice activity. And I feel even if it takes a few tries, you'll be able to do it. So I'm not worried, okay? So anyway, you guys have a great rest of your day, whatever you're doing. Don't forget to go out and have some fun. It is still summertime. I'm going to do the same. And I'll see you soon. Thanks.